Story 1. A lot of daydreaming and overthinking leads to second guessing. I spend too much time thinking about someone I barely interact with. Does she like me? Do I actually like her? Why do I like her? She's beautiful. Am I filling in the gaps about her with traits that fit my ideals? Story 2. For me, every thought revolved around her. I would see something and think, oh, she would like that, or she wouldn't like that. I would consider activities we could do together, places I would want to take her, and things I could buy for her. I often wondered how she really is and what is on her mind. I thought about the future and our life together. Every thought involves her. Everything is done with consideration for her. I contemplated marriage, what our family would be like, and where we would vacation. I wake up and fall asleep thinking about her. I haven't slept well, and I feel bad, so I might be missing some things. Essentially, she lived in my head rent-free. Story 3. When a man truly likes a woman, he thinks about her frequently, becomes nervous in her presence, overanalyzes her words, and desires to make her happy and impressed. Story 4. I giggle and kick my feet while thinking about the person often. More so, I think about the concept of the person rather than anything specific. Story 5. All of the above constantly, except for when he is actually in front of her. Then it is nothing at all, a complete thought vacuum. You may as well have left your brain somewhere else. She could drop hints and you would miss them. She can be obvious and it will sail right over your head. All that preparation and everything funny you were going to say, gone at the first sight of her. It is incredibly annoying. Story 6. I find everything she does incredibly cute. Everything she does feels different and majestic, like a wonderland. Story 7. You know those scenes in Death Note where Light Yagami is overthinking his interactions with L? It's similar, but with more intentional sexual tension. Story 8. I can't speak for every man, but for me, it's not as sexual as you might think. I contemplate ways of impressing her and communicating with her in a deep yet intimate way. I want to protect her, intellectually connect with her soul, and then be with her as if the world is going to end. Story 9. I am a woman, and this makes me think we all share the same thoughts when we fall for someone, regardless of gender. This is relatable to me, and we all experience difficult times. Story 10. I post Instagram stories and only really care if she saw them. When I get a text, I hope it's from her. Sometimes I reanalyze what I said and how I said it in text messages. I have a folder on Instagram Reels called Los Angeles Date Ideas where I save all these reels with experiences I eventually want to share with her. It would be great if one of them actually felt the same way about me for once. All good though. Story 11. Damn, she's a good listener. I'm in love with her. She hasn't asked her a single question and doesn't know her favorite color. Story 12. I start thinking about all the different ways she won't like me back and convince myself it is pointless. Story 13. It depends. When I was younger, I assumed that physical attraction meant the person I was attracted to was perfect for me, but that doesn't always work out. There are many attractive but unkind people in the world. As I grew older and developed emotional connections with people, I began to daydream about the experiences I wanted to share with them. When I met my wife, I realized that what we had was truly special. She was the first girlfriend I took to meet my great-grandfather, who was one of my heroes because of how much he loved my great-grandmother. At every stage, it was an easy yes for me. Despite being in a long-distance relationship, many people in our lives told us it would never work out. We had fun, made plans together, and built the life we have now. 2 amazing kids, 18 years of marriage, and 25 years together. I look forward to spending time with her every single day. Story 14. I'm in my mid-30s. I would say this is probably the most accurate take for when you're really into someone. Story 15. First, he begins tracking patterns, what time she arrives at work, how often she refills her water bottle, whether her footsteps are heavier on Tuesdays, which could indicate stress, poor footwear, or mild ankle weakness, all relevant. Then come the assessments. Is her immune system strong? You can tell by the glossiness of her eyes and the frequency of sneezes. Does she eat her lunch efficiently, or is she a grazer? Grazers are unpredictable. Story 16. She's pretty cool. She's also cute. Maybe I should talk to her. No, she'll think I'm weird. What if she wants me to? No, she'll think I'm weird. Maybe she won't. No, she'll think I'm weird. Story 17. As an autistic person, whenever I have strong feelings for a girl, I constantly overthink every little decision I made while interacting with her. If we went on a daytime date, I would lie in bed recapping everything I said to her to see if anything seemed rude or strange. Story 18. Sometimes, when we truly feel that a girl is the one, it can be difficult to think of her in a sexual way. Story 19. For a man, the woman he likes is a river, and he is the sea. In everything he does and every thought he has, she inevitably finds her way into the current, no matter how calm or violent the waters may be. Driving home from school, he feels her beside him, smiling and laughing as if they are already partners, already promised. But he blinks and the vision fades. The island he was so sure was real vanishes, burned away by the thirst of reality. Night brings no escape. Just as the sun surrenders to the horizon, a rip current forms, and once again, she floods his mind, refusing to leave until the sea, boiling with doubt, reasons her away. Only with time might the river dry up, leaving behind a scarred riverbed, forever etched into the floor of his mind. Or perhaps the sea will rise and confront the river, asking her to join him forever before all the fresh water dries up. Story 20. Mostly cartoonish nonsense. We are essentially loyal dogs with only two needs, while women are cunning cats who will cuddle in your lap after causing harm. Story 21. Think about the future with her, having a family, getting married, and growing old together. This represents the American dream. Story 22. For me, I start questioning every move I make. Was what I did appropriate? Was the timing bad? Did I make her uncomfortable? Oh no, I might have. I feel like a terrible person. I don't deserve anything. I don't want to live anymore. As I spiral out of control in my head, I maintain a smile on my face while, in reality, I am screaming in agony. Story 23. Nothing really. Literally, nothing goes through my mind. I just get mesmerized by her beauty and enjoy her presence. Story 24. This thread is so cute. It made me a little sad to read because I don't think any guy has thought this way about me. Story 25. You know that feeling when you bite into the best tasting dessert you've ever had? You aren't really able to form full sentences for a bit, and you almost pass out from it. Sort of like that. There's a lot of convincing myself that there's no way she likes me. It becomes silly to even think about pursuing a conversation. Add in an immense amount of self-consciousness about everything I do and wear. All of it feels embarrassing. Lastly, there's the normal inability to understand flirting, signs, and hints. She could write me an essay about why she wanted to go out with me, and I would still miss the point. Yeah, it's sort of like that. Story 26. Severe case of delusion, complete loss of communication skills, and committing every mistake known to humankind. Story 27. It depends on whether the attraction is for her as a person, in which case he will find any excuse to spend more time with her throughout a full 24-hour day, or if it is mostly a strong physical attraction, in which case he will find excuses to see her later in the day. Story 28. For me, it's about taking drives, walking together, holding her while watching a sunset, or listening to the rain. If I think about her all the time, it's definitely not just about intimacy, although that's great too. Story 29. As others have mentioned, I experience a wide range of emotions, from panic and sadness when I haven't heard from her to joy and relief when I do. I find myself overthinking, and whether I have a good day or a bad day is usually determined by our last interaction. It's both the best and worst feeling, and it means I'm either very happy or very upset at any given time. It would be much easier to just shut it off and not care, and I'm sure I would seem less intense if I could do that, but I suppose we'll never know. Story 30. I don't know about others, but for me, it changes my fantasies about them. When I meet or see someone attractive, I have sexual fantasies about them, which I assume is normal. However, as I get to know someone as a person, My fantasies changed to just wanting to be around them or imagining them as part of my normal daily life. The strange, and I can't explain it properly. Story 31. Overthinking and analyzing everything. Carefully crafting the perfect opener to a conversation. How do I approach without being intimidating? How do I tell her I like her without seeming creepy? Should I even tell her? Will it come across as desperate? At this point, he's surprised you can't hear his heart pounding through his rib cage as he awkwardly walks up to you. Story 32. How can I avoid hurting her? What do I need to make this work, and what is not necessary? Can I be what she needs? I want to improve myself. What if I ruin this? Story 33. It depends on a person's location. Based on that, all romantic scenes take place in the imagination, similar to Bollywood, Hollywood, or any cinema. Story 34. As a man with ADHD, I often found myself thinking about various subjects. For instance, when my wife and I got together, I would sometimes entertain thoughts about international relations in an exaggerated manner. Story 35. I don't have the strength to revisit those memories or explain them. She is still in my mind in everything I do. My brain can't handle the cognitive load and effort. It can't justify the expenditure of that energy. When I was with her, there was no deliberation or justification process. I didn't need to decide whether it was a good or bad idea to leave a comment. I was completely engaged. Story 36. Many things. From fantasizing about going on a date together to having sleepless nights thinking about her. Just trying to be realistic. Story 37. It's simple. I like a girl and want to do anything with her. I think about whether to have a nice get-together or to get busy with something else. When I get rejected, I feel so low that it hurts. Story 38. Every constant thought of her feels like a hurricane, a tornado, sun flares, an earthquake, and a crack addiction, all happening in your mind while your stomach has 1,000 butterflies in it. And if that isn't enough, you also have to deal with a raging erection. Story 39. She won't like me that way anyway. Is she cool enough to find another friend? Or is she just attractive? The girls who reject me often actually want to be friends, not just as a token excuse. So, I end up having to reject their friendship, and that whole cycle is quite the hassle. Story 40. Imagine you could meet her anywhere, like the grocery store in your neighborhood, even though she lives in a different part of the city. Story 41. Based on my experience, I can't resist overthinking. It fogged my brain. All the thoughts were positive and pleasant. I tried to ignore the fact that the girl avoided me. She eventually agreed to my proposal after I wrote her a letter, and I fell in love with her. I was very afraid. 2 months later, after we spoke, she wrote to me saying she had told me nothing, even though she had said she was in love with me too. It was awful, and I felt very upset. This situation changed my life. Story 42. According to my boyfriend, what can I do for her to make her like me back? Wash her car? Done. Help with errands? Yes. Fix that thing in her car that's been broken for a year? I'm on it. He definitely performs acts of service often. Story 43. How quickly will I ruin this one? And how much is she going to make me suffer for the sheer audacity of existing? I feel the exact same way every time, except for the last time. From the moment I met her, it was like having my head in the clouds, an overwhelming sense of comfort and peace. Anxiety, insecurity, and doubt were suddenly not really relevant. I didn't even notice them missing until much later. I experienced constant excitement about the next time I would see her, but oddly, there was no frustration or restlessness during the wait, as just knowing she existed was highly satisfying. I had also recently begun finding it pleasant to be around myself. It seems that these new feelings were not caused by her. They were drawn out by my own introspection. As things progressed, an eerie yet pleasant sense emerged, indicating that the universe was actively setting up ways to bring us closer together. Suddenly, I became aware of all sorts of exciting activities to engage in, things that had always been available but previously overlooked. We began having actual adventures, facing relatively minor challenges together that we easily overcame. Soon, there was an unmistakable sensation of long-term familiarity, impossibly long, as if we had shared multiple lifetimes together, alongside various illogical yet undeniable signs that we had already known each other but had somehow forgotten until now. Over the past 12 years with her, the novelty of the situation wore off. None of the beautiful feelings and sensations have faded. In fact, certain events or thoughts still arise to reinforce them. I've just finally gotten used to them. That's all. Story 44. Endless imagination of random interaction where people connect and end up liking each other. Basically, it's a wish-fulfilling fantasy. In a way, it's kind of preparing for scenarios that sadly never happen, or not in the way we imagined. I mean, it's not like we know what a girl would say or how she would respond. The one in our heads is the best-case scenario. Story 45. I don't have much experience, to be honest. I've only caught feelings for one girl, and the story is a bit embarrassing. We dated for a month and a half, and it's been a month since she decided to end it. We weren't even officially in a relationship, despite doing many things that felt like a relationship. What I can tell you is that she was all I thought about. Her hair, her face, the way she'd tease or make fun of me. I romanticized everything, even her flaws. Even though she was not a great person, it didn't matter to me. I constantly felt the need to protect her and to prove myself to her. I struggled with the desire to buy her flowers or to write her a song. Eventually, I got drunk and let slip just how much I liked her in a nonsensical voice message, and I think that scared her away. What I'm trying to say is that when a guy really likes a girl, she occupies his entire mind. There's some kind of instinct to protect or something similar. Even now that more time has passed since she ended it than we dated, I have to fight the urge to send her a text. I'm just hoping I find someone else soon before I embarrass myself again. Story 46. How do I make myself act normally? What can I talk about with her that doesn't make me seem boring? Why can't I express my sense of humor when I'm so nervous? What does she think about? Is she out of my league? Am I attractive? Story 47. Not many thoughts, just a lot of feelings. Once things progress, it mostly becomes thoughts. Then I get overwhelmed, and feelings diminish, which is something I have been trying to work on. Story 48. For me, it's that my actions will always keep her in mind, and hopefully with the best intentions. Actions speak louder than words. Story 49. I have been in love with one of my friends for over 15 years. She was a friend of my cousin's, and we met at my uncle's house. I got along with her well at first, but I didn't consider her anything more than a friend initially because the age gap was too big. She was 16, and I was 23. However, as I got to know her over the following months, I realized that I was falling for her. She is the kindest person I have ever met. Once you get to know her, her nerdy side emerges. She is adventurous and athletic, which is pretty much the opposite of me. She encourages me to try new things and have experiences I would never seek out on my own. I was never an option for her, as she is so hilariously out of my league, so I'm comfortable just being her friend. Because of this, my attitude towards her has never been about pursuing her. It has been about making her as happy as possible. I have taken her on trips and supported her during problems with various boyfriends over the years. I have been there for her when she was at her lowest. She once told me that a conversation I had with her saved her life. That was around 7 years ago, and I still consider that my greatest achievement. During that same conversation, I expressed how I felt about her, and she was truly surprised because I had never shown any signs. I made it clear that even though I thought she was the one for me, I didn't believe I was the one for her. Therefore, I have worked hard to keep my feelings as my issue rather than making them hers. We now live on different continents, but I visit my family every year and spend an evening with her each time. She is engaged now, and the first time I met her fiancé, I cried the entire drive home. I wasn't sad. I was happy. So happy that she has found her person. They are wonderful together. It was a huge relief because she has been in relationships before that weren't good. Anyway, I apologize for the lengthy response. To answer the original question, when I think about her, I sometimes envision what our life together would look like. I imagine how it would feel to wake up next to her every morning, cuddle her, and make her smile. Of course, I find her physically attractive, but that's not my focus most of the time when I think of her. Other times, I simply hope she is okay and happy. She will always be the one I yearn for, but I'm sure by now she has forgotten that I ever told her how I feel, and that's how I want it. I don't want my feelings to be a burden to her. I love her too much. Story 50. Wanting to say something, anything that will impress her to the point where your brain is screaming to say something, yet your mouth locks up because there are too many thoughts hitting you at the same time, and you don't know which one is the smart thing that she will like. Story 51. You know that mid-credits scene from Inside Out where Riley bumps into a boy, and the alarms in the boy's head are blaring, "Girl, girl, girl," while the emotions are an incoherent mess, either running around aimlessly or rocking themselves in the fetal position. Yeah, something like that. Story 52. A lot of self-doubt. What if she finds someone better built, someone more interesting, funnier, and better looking? If I do my best to make a good impression on her, will it be enough? Or will she leave when a better offer comes along? I like her. Does she like me back? Or am I just pushing my luck? What if her friends don't like me and try to influence her to dislike me too? Story 53. Fantasizing about being together, idealizing her, experiencing butterflies whenever you see her, hoping that she likes you. Story 54. It's like a constant battle between, I hope she likes me too, and don't say anything stupid. Meanwhile, in the background, she smiled. Is this love? Should I marry her? Story 55. His desire to do things with her transcends his desire to do things to her. I am just thankful that it only took one irritating college weekend with a superficial party girl for me to learn the difference. Story 56. Imagine intimacy. Finish too quickly, even in a fantasy. Look down in shame at her face twisted by disappointment. Story 57. You overthink everything. From words to simple interactions, you worry that you might make her dislike you by saying or doing the wrong thing. Story 58. She is so pretty. I want to make her happy. Oh, she seems to really like me, so I will remember that. How can I make her laugh today? How can I spend time with her without making her feel stifled or pressured? Wait, slow down. Do I really like her? Let's observe for a little longer. How does she treat the cashier, the waitstaff, and the janitor? What does she think of animals? What kind of connection does she have with music? Does she have a sense of whimsy? How does she talk about herself? Oh, she has someone. Story 59. I think every young man daydreams from time to time. Thoughts like, if a ninja swung through that window over there, I'd try to dive behind the desk and throw the paperweight to slow him down. Of course, I'd probably miss, but it might throw off his aim at me with his kunai. Those scissors look big and sharp enough to use as a makeshift knife. I'd give myself 6 out of 10 chances to survive this. When you meet a girl you really like, the daydreams change. It turns into thoughts like, if she came in here right now, I bet I could ask her about her favorite album and steer the conversation toward asking for her number. Of course, she probably has a boyfriend. She's so chill. How could she possibly be single? Maybe instead of her number, I can find out if she has a boyfriend. What if she's a lesbian? New plan, we just want to figure out if she's single. Maybe later we can see if she likes guys. I bet she's only been cool with me because she wants to be friends. I don't want to mess up a friendship with a chill girl. I bet we could be awesome friends, like best friends. It would be a huge advantage to have such a cool girl as a friend when I finally meet someone I'm interested in. I bet she could help me stop overthinking this. If I start prying too much with my questions, she'll know I'm interested and think I'm a total creeper. Then we won't be friends, and she definitely won't be interested. I'm so totally stuck. I give myself -3 out of 10 chances to survive this. That doesn't even make sense. So then you hang out trying to be chill and cool, but you're paying too much attention to her because you hope to learn she's single without having to work for it. You want to jump into the conversation, but it's all about timing, like getting in on a double Dutch jump rope. Eventually, she's looking at you, and it feels like staring into a deep, dark chasm in the pit of your stomach, replacing rational thought with anxiety, insecurity, and self-doubt. You hyperfixate on trying to act chill, and all you can manage to say is something completely bland, like, "Hey, what's up?" It's like that. Or is that just me? Story 60. Everything goes quiet. I stop thinking and just watch her. How she moves. How she looks back. That's all I need. Story 61. I want to talk to her constantly, but she never texts me, which signals that she is not interested in me. However, I think about the things she has said and wonder if maybe she is into me. She never goes on dates, but recently she almost did but canceled at the last moment. Then she told me she'd rather date someone she has been friends with first, and she looked at me, waiting for my response. I want to do nice things for her, but I also don't want to make things awkward. Recently, we walked through a garden of magnolias. I picked flowers and wanted to give them to her, but with our other friend present, I thought it would be awkward, so I just put them behind my own ear. I made her a personalized gift, but since our other friend was there too, I didn't want to make things awkward again. So, I gave him a gift I had never opened, and now they both received presents. Recently, we had a chance to do something just the two of us, but she chose to do something else. This signals to me that she is not interested. However, we were in a dark sauna, and she intentionally blocked the doorway so I couldn't go out. I lifted her and moved her aside, and she giggled like a little schoolgirl. Now I think she might have wanted me to kiss her in that moment. The reason it would be awkward for me to be into her is that 2 out of 4 guys in our friend group already confessed their feelings to her. One left the friend group because he couldn't stop thinking about her. The other guy, who is not interested in her, also left the group. Now we are a group of 4, 2 guys and 2 girls. The other guy is still very much into her, but she is not into him at all. I promised myself I wouldn't be like the other 2 and would just be a good friend to her because she deserves a male friend. However, any heterosexual guy would fall in love with her, and I'm only human. She's gorgeous, funny, and smarter than she gives herself credit for. She is genuinely kind and cares about others. She often doubts herself, and I sometimes wonder if she even knows how perfect she is. This is not just me saying that. Any guy would fall for her. 3 out of 4 guys in our friend group did, and the last guy we all suspect might not be straight. I'm not looking for any advice or opinions. I'm just answering the original poster's question. Story 62. I recently went on a date this weekend after years of not dating, and I feel ready to share my experiences. Currently, I'm doing some overthinking and texting, but I'm cautious not to overdo it. What can I do to make her life easier? I'm daydreaming about spending more time together. We both exercise, so there's that physical aspect as well. I have a lot of mixed feelings, both good and bad, but most of the negative emotions stem from my tendency to overthink. Story 63. There has only been one person in my life so far that I really liked, and most of my thoughts about her were focused on convincing myself that I didn't like her, that she was just a friend, and that I was confusing my feelings. This led to a lot of overthinking, questioning why I was doing this to myself, interpreting her actions and our shared experiences, and discussing it all with a mutual friend. Story 64. Don't mess this up. Story 65. Lately, I have developed an interest in a girl from my job. We talk often, and I find myself drawn to her, but we have only just met. I want to avoid creating a toxic environment. Still, I would love to take her on a date and see where it leads. I keep thinking about the flirty exchanges we have had, but I will never know how she feels unless I express my interest. Story 66. I felt a connection with one person, and it was a significant breakthrough for me. We weren't even dating, and we hadn't met, but we had communicated for a long time. She said she liked me and was ready for a date, and I couldn't help but smile in my workplace bathroom in front of the mirror. My cheeks warmed, and my stomach felt light. I found myself daydreaming about wanting to cook for her. From that moment, no one else seemed attractive. It was just her beauty and her flaws that captivated me. Story 67. Thinking about her repeatedly, wondering if it will work out, and daydreaming about her. A lot of thoughts like, gosh, she's beautiful. If a guy truly loves or has a crush on someone, lustful or sexual thoughts may arise, but we push them away with strong self-control because she is worth more than those thoughts. Story 68. I often think about her, considering ways to make her smile or laugh and feel happy. Story 69. Imagining many scenarios that will likely never happen, we could consider kicking things off to explore a possible relationship together. However, it also seems extremely unlikely that we would act on such scenarios. Story 70. How can I get her to like me? Why would she like me? Even I don't like myself. Maybe she's better than I am. But if she's better, why would she go out with me? Story 71. She constantly pops into my thoughts while I am at work, golfing, or out with friends. However, she is always there when I get home. Story 72. His usual logic, rational thought, and cool demeanor go into a state of overdrive and chaos. He will be utterly confused. Spinning mind and heartthrob syndrome is a serious condition that can lead a man to daydream occasionally and have conversations with his friends that he usually would never engage in. If it's real, even you will notice. He will likely resemble a teen romantic comedy character from the 1980s or 1990s. His friends will definitely notice, as his typical behavior and speech will be affected. They will have a field day teasing him. Story 73. Alternating between planning my life with her joyfully, saving her life in a blaze of glory, or feeling immense depression over my inadequacy and knowing I will never have her. It's complicated. Story 74. The worst part is spending too much time imagining everything, only to accept that you have only spoken to her once. Story 75. 90% pure excitement, 10% panic thoughts like, did I already tell her that story? And, what do I do with my hands? It's a full mental circus. Story 76. When I develop a crush on a girl, it is usually followed by quite a bit of anxiety. I do not consider myself attractive and rarely approach women, so I think deep down I know it will never be more than a crush. I had a crush once and we got along really well. I thought there was a slim chance she might have liked me back, but I doubt it now. Story 77. Oh hey Michelle. Story 78. You know that myth that guys think about sex every 7 seconds? That's not true, but when I'm head over heels for a girl, I think about her almost every minute. Story 79. What our future will look like together. Just imagining both of us coming back to the same home after a tiring day at the office, leaving all our worries at the doorstep, surrounded by our loved ones, where each moment is filled with happiness. A safe space for both of us to unwind, relax, and truly enjoy the life that we are working hard for. Nothing less than this and nothing more. This is the thought that drives me to do my best even during the toughest times. Story 80. I didn't quite understand it until later. You fall in love with the idea of someone rather than who they actually are. This makes you overanalyze everything, and then you sabotage it. Once I became carefree, the pressure was gone, and it was easier to talk to people when I had no motive to ruin things. Story 81. When you send a text to her in the first week, you wait and think about how quickly she will respond, and it will consume you. Story 82. Alright, how am I going to mess this up, and how do I avoid doing that while ultimately trying not to? Story 83. My best male friend finally confessed that when he first started liking me, he would rehearse entire conversations with me while in the shower. He would even come up with different scenarios and responses. However, when we actually talked, he would panic and forget everything he practiced. Story 84. Usually, it starts with my head saying how good she looks, followed by the thought that it would be great if she were my girlfriend. Then, I think there's no way she's single, and finally, I end up never talking to her. Story 85. I go from thinking clearly and precisely to feeling like I am trying to walk through a crowd of people while juggling, if that makes sense. Story 86. I want to say it's very cathartic to read all the responses here, knowing we are all virtually the same. I recently made a move and crashed and burned. This is not the first time by a long shot, but the hope is always that it will be the last time. Onward and upward. Story 87. She's so pretty. She'll never go for me. She's so high above me. She's so lovely. Story 88. Don't mess it up. Say something nice. Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Okay, here it goes. Don't mess it up. Like you. Oh no. You messed it up. You messed it up. You messed it up. You messed it up. Story 89. Your thoughts are always with the girl. You count down the time until you can see her again, But when the moment happens, it becomes very stressful because you don't want to mess it up. You hate to leave a place because that means you won't see her for a while. Every love song becomes associated with her. You remember every interaction you've had with her and keep replaying it in your head. You memorize every subject she brought up because the worst thing would be running out of topics when you were talking to her. Her hobbies become your interests. Story 90. Have you seen the videos of male birds trying to impress female birds? Sometimes it's through dance, colorful feathers, or finding an interesting stick or rock. I often find myself trying to impress her and make her laugh because it fills me with warmth and joy. Story 91. When a guy really likes a girl, his brain gets a little scrambled in the best way. Random things remind him of her all the time. He begins to overthink everything. What to text, when to text, and whether that last message sounded weird. He also starts to care about his appearance. He may not admit it, but suddenly he's fixing his hair more often and putting on cologne that he usually forgets he has, just in case he runs into her. Story 92. It's surprising and somewhat disheartening that people in this discussion are shocked that women and men are exactly the same in this regard. It's not rocket science. Have you ever considered that the girl you like also thinks about guys she likes, daydreams about a future life together, gets nervous, and experiences everything else mentioned in this thread? I shudder to think of all the other aspects of life you might not be considering. Story 93. My girl's beautiful eyes and cute lips were what first attracted me to her. Her unique laughter filled my cold, empty soul with warmth. I then felt an overwhelming desire to share my warmth with her so she could feel it inside as well. Story 94. I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that. Story 95. Unfortunately, it is too much. Even if we succeed in expressing our intentions and they are reciprocated, we panic because we did not expect to get that far. Story 96. You begin to consider where to take her and what activities to do together. Additionally, you may start to fantasize about her in a romantic context. Story 97. Our heads usually go blank when we like a girl. We lose control of all rational thoughts and actions. Story 98. The acceptance that she will never return his feelings after daydreaming about their impossible future together, including children and marriage. Story 99. The existence of another person brings happiness. Seeing her brings joy, and thinking about her also creates happiness. Story 100. Daydreaming of non-sexual topics such as cohabitation, having children, growing old together, and sharing moments before the end of life. Story 101. Overthinking past interactions, imagining new ones, and replaying scenarios in your mind repeatedly. Story 102. He spends a lot of time daydreaming, thinking about how to make her happy, but he knows he will likely mess it up, or someone else will ensure that he does. In the end, he gives up. Story 103. I always have this image of waking up in the morning, going to the living room, and seeing her there smiling at me and wishing me a good morning. I melt from how cute her smile is. Then I start thinking about the plan to win her heart so I can turn my imagination into reality. Story 104. Creating imaginary situations where the two of them spend quality time together. Thinking about what married life is like for them and how having a child together would feel, envisioning the life of a happy family. Story 105. Based on my personal experience, when a guy really likes a girl, he tries to talk or connect with her. He often thinks about her and their future together, envisioning things like children. If a person genuinely likes you, he will not become physical with you during the first 4 or 5 dates. That's my opinion. What's yours on this? Story 106. I am financially struggling, so I do not attempt to go on dates. I do not allow myself to have crushes until my situation improves. So any thought of finding someone attractive is quickly dismissed. Story 107. I remember a scene in Euphoria where Nate imagines that Maddie is kidnapped and he saves her. Story 108. Part of your brain shuts down, and you end up saying and doing the dumbest things around her. Story 109. Overthinking and dreaming of unrealistic scenarios can be common, at least for me. I find myself constantly observing everything around me. It may sound strange, but it is my reality. Story 110. A lot of anxiety. Does she like me the way I like her? Am I missing signals she is sending me? Or am I seeing signals where there aren't any? How can I get closer to her without messing it all up? Story 111. I will constantly look at her, and if I see her looking back, then I will assume she also likes me. Story 112. Depends on how old he is, if you ask me. When I was in high school, it was a lot of, she's really pretty, I like her a lot. Does she like me? Or is she just being nice to me? I want to ask her out, but I don't think I can. There was also a lot of daydreaming. As I grew older, I adopted the mentality of shoot your shot. The worst she can do is say no. I'm married now, but I imagine if I were single, I would be a bit more forthright and confident about dating. However, I hope to never find out. Story 113. Butterflies in my stomach. But once I can tell she doesn't want to be bothered, I stop and try to forget her. Story 114. Pretty much the same thoughts occur in a woman's mind when she likes a man, in a man's mind when he likes a man, or in a woman's mind when she likes a woman. People are just people. Story 115. Oh no, she is attractive. Followed by freezing in place and feeling disappointed in myself for being timid. Other men are much braver than I am. I can tell you that much. Story 116. I suspect the same thing as girls, but with a lot of extra pressure and, therefore, extra awkwardness. Story 117. Subconsciously, DNA is looking to procreate. It has lost all sense of reason. Life's main purpose is to procreate. Nothing else really matters. Just to procreate. Then we grow old and die. And the cycle continues for eons. Story 118 depends, but I think we can agree on some common things. A lot of overthinking occurs, such as getting upset or sad, or believing we had a chance when she is already taken or like someone else. Daydreaming about her includes creating ideal scenarios in your mind, like giving her a hug or flirting with her. You might have imaginary conversations with her and pre-plan your replies. Ultimately, you might envision your whole future together, even though you are just another grain of salt in our immensely diverse and vast universe. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.